Hi there again, and welcome to America Can We Talk? I'm Debbie Georgatos. In the first five today, I want to tell you about a decision that was made in Austin, which is the capital of Texas, just down the road. It was Tuesday of this week. The Austin School Board, the Austin Independent School District Board, adopted a radical new sex education curriculum for grades 3 through 8. I want to tell you just a little bit of what I mean about a radical sex education curriculum, but the real point of this conversation today in the first five is to talk about the idea, why are we agreeing that the public schools, which is really a form of government, so government schools are deciding morality on all sorts of issues that directly challenge the morality of many parents' viewpoints and many religious people's viewpoints. The idea that they even think it's their job is something that must be changed. But to start with, what they decided. So in the Austin Independent School District, as an overview, they urged children to join in LGBT pride parades, and also they encourage children to think of their sex as something randomly assigned at birth, and that they can decide later what they really are. They have embraced the LGBTQ, especially the transgender agenda that says you're not really what you think you are, or your very gender, your identity is what you think it is, and you can change your mind repeatedly. This curriculum was adopted by the Austin Independent School Board unanimously, and even though hundreds of parents showed up, they did give testimony, they did raise opposition, and the testimony apparently went into well past midnight. So people showed up to say, hey, why are you doing this? We don't like this. I want to share some specifics about it. As I say, it's for grades 3 through 8. But on the younger grades 3rd through 5th. So third graders are 8 years old. To remind you, third graders are like 8 years old. Maybe they turn 9 during the school year. So for these children, the curriculum advises teachers that they need to begin using gender-inclusive language. So don't talk to these kids and use language like, how's your mom? Is your dad picking you up? No mom, no dad. Don't use language like that. Refer to them as parents or guardians. Don't use words about these kids' own parents in talking to the kids that assumes that they have a mom or dad, or that their parent knows what gender they are. So trying to use gender-inclusive language. They also, they admonish parents, the teachers are admonished in the school policy for the way they talk to children. They need to understand that they need to be sensitive to the idea that maybe these third graders aren't really sure their gender. So they're supposed to avoid terms that have anything about male or female identity. When speaking to young children, here's their language, as this can limit their understanding of gender into binaries, as though that'd be a bad thing. If little boys and little girls actually thought that in the world we have little boys and little girls. This is a danger the school district policy is trying to avoid, having kids think that the world consists of men or boys and girls. And they want to be careful that kids do not feel excluded by the use of these terms that deal with reality. Moving forward, for grade 6, they include things such as, they have this idea for 6th graders that the term biological sex is supposed to be defined by the school in the way they talk to 6th graders as the sex assigned at birth, according to genitalia. So you're not really a boy, you're not really a girl. It's just an assignment given to you at birth, and encourages teachers to explain that when someone is born, a doctor looks at them and decides what sex they are. Usually, based on their anatomy, the doctor will judge that a baby who has male genitalia, has a penis, is a boy, and a girl, or a baby that has female genitalia is a girl. But the point of it is, they're telling kids in 6th grade that they are not really what they think they are, what their mom and dad have told them that they are, what they know they are, but that in fact they just have a gender assigned at birth randomly. And also that it encourages them specifically to tell 6th graders that sex does not always match with your gender identity. They also have admonish these sixth grade teachers in talking with sixth grade students to say, never to say things like, your mother gave birth, just to say something like, do you have a good relationship with your with your birth parents? They go on to, in sixth graders, encouraging them to attend gay pride rallies, become an ally to someone who identifies as LGBTQ. It goes on and on and on. I want to make several points in today's first five about this kind of curriculum. Number one, this is Austin, Texas. Now, if you don't live in Texas, you don't know. You may think Texas is, kind of rock solid red, but it's really not. Austin is a bastion of liberalism. Austin is falling off sanity, losing their sanity in the way they've adopted many left-wing policies, including Austin is a city that has the city council authorized, in order to deal with a homelessness problem, authorized all homeless people can put up tents, sleeping bags, and basically sleep wherever they want, like on public sidewalks in front of your house, on public sidewalks. So they do not get fined, they don't get asked to move, they don't get in any way, can't be arrested, cannot be hassled. Homeless people can plop down and sleep and pitch their tent anywhere. And this is obviously upsetting many of the law-abiding, tax-paying, hardworking people in Austin who don't want to have to deal with this every day. It's at a standstill right now. The governor of Texas has told them they have until, I think it was the end of September or maybe the end of this month today, to straighten out their act. I don't know what they'll do. But Austin has simply surrendered to the LGBTQ agenda. But back to this school policy. To start with, even though the transgender movement in this nation has become outspoken, radical, demanding, almost mafia-like, insisting on changing language in our culture, insisting on a determination that everybody must agree with them and their views on transgenderism, and the wisdom and greatness of letting small children tell you that they really may seem to be one biological gender, but they really are the other. This was almost an overnight capitulation by America to the bizarreness of the transgender agenda. There are literally millions of American families who actually care what their children believe on all sorts of subjects, including on the subjects of creation, who formed you, what your identity is. Many parents want and do teach their children that God is the creator, that God is a source of life, that when you're born a boy or a girl. The transgender world does not want children taught that. But just stop and think about this. Even if transgender radicals, transgender advocates want to push this bizarre notion that your sex isn't really what your body says it is, it's whatever you think you are or want to become. Even if they want to say that, which they can say, of course, in America, because we have freedom of speech, you can say anything you want. But the idea that this has become curricula in the government-funded, meaning taxpayer-funded public schools, and that parents who showed up to protest and said, stop teaching my kid this is bizarre, this is not what we teach our children at home. And the school board, to a person, could not think of a reason to indulge the parents' concerns and say, maybe we can back off from this. Maybe we don't really have to be teaching this. In an era when children are failing when they get out of high school and cannot do well, they can't perform well in standardized tests, they can't read at their grade level, they don't understand math and science, and heaven knows they don't understand American history and the unique greatness of America, but by golly, by the end of third grade, they're going to understand that there really is no such thing as a boy or a girl, that really your sex, which you always thought you were, a boy or a girl, is really just an assigned gender you can change. The problem here is not just that the ideology of transgenderism is unhealthy. It actually, we've talked about cases in the show, we'll talk about them again. There are people who've gone through this transgendering and come out years later to say, why didn't someone stop me? Why didn't someone help me? Why didn't someone point out to me that this is not true, that you can't change your gender? You really can't ever change it, even when you have surgery and even when you take all sorts of hormones and other kinds of treatments, you can't change your gender. People have had their lives ruined by this trendy ideology of transgenderism, but it is so it is so pushy, it's so assertive, it's so demanding that the public schools in Austin, Texas adopted it. And parents are left with some choices. Number one, pull your kids out of public school, homeschool them, find a private school that will teach, what you want your children taught. But it's also a message in this show, America Can We Talk, which is dedicated to the political conversation in America. It's also just a vital reminder that the American left, or as I'm always reminded by one friend of mine, the anti-American left are relentless. They never stop pushing their agenda. On issue after issue after issue, the left pushes its agenda relentlessly. Parents in Austin probably thought they're doing pretty well. They are two-parent working homes. They got their kids going to school. They understand the Austin schools are fairly pretty solid school district. They're confident in trusting their children to the Austin public schools, and then find out these schools are indoctrinating them. They're these precious children of these families, working families, their precious children being indoctrinated in public school into the LGBTQ, transgender, radical, bizarro agenda. And the school board unanimously went along with putting that agenda in place. So the message is to Americans, it's not, it is a great idea if you can pull your kids out of school, but we, the people who still are sane in this country, we need to be more assertive. We need to be showing up at school board meetings and arguing. We need to be arguing with the teachers in the schools, pushing this stuff. We need to be paying attention, even in local elections. Who's running for school board? Run for school board yourself. Show up at school board meetings and discuss the issues you care about. Because back to my point about the left being relentless, the America of our history, America the Great, America the Exceptional, is the America founded on the ideas that America was founded on, which include the idea we all have rights, we're all created equal, there is a creator, and we Americans who see that, who want that traditional America, we just think it will always be that way. We can just do our lives and go to work and pick the kids up at school and take them to soccer practice and run home and get dinner on the table. And we are unaware how radical and relentless the left is. We don't recognize, or we're getting late to the game in recognizing how much the left is truly trying to push this country on countless issues, off into the world of the bizarre, the unreal, the unhealthy. And we have been a little bit asleep at the wheel. So on the public school system, recognize the left will push its agenda, destroying the respect for America's history, the identity of America, the meaning of America. The left will push its agenda on issue after issue. Unless we're paying attention, our kids are getting indoctrinated into things that we don't believe in. We have to recognize the attribute of relentlessness of the American left, and we got to double down on our side and be even more relentless for standing up for the basic values of America, the basic idea that school is for teaching kids math, science, reading, history, actual academic subjects, and the parents, the family, the home, the church is the place where children should be taught things about their identity. The public schools have no business even talking to kids about encouraging their involvement in LGBTQ pride parades or in any other aspect of advocating the LGBTQ agenda. It just has no place in public schools. It's not just that parents ought to get involved and try to tweak the agenda a little bit to fix it. Parents ought to say, this does not even belong in the public schools. And that, my friends, is today's first 5, or maybe more like first 10.